G'day legends, g'day superstars. Peps back again with another season preview, and this one I've been looking forward to. Well, I'm looking forward to everyone, but it's good to have the boys from the Portress podcast back for the third year in a row. And you know what? When we look back and we talk about how successful these pre-season and season previews have been, these guys have had a massive hand to do with it, because they were literally the first ones to put their hands up and say, let's have a chat a couple of years ago. So it's great to have Maddie back. It's great to have Craig back from the Portress podcast. We're going to be talking about Port Adelaide in 2023 and how they're going to go. But gentlemen, welcome to Lace Out. And more importantly, I just have to mention one quick thing. And that's to you, Mr. Sullivan. Yep. Matthew Sullivan, when you joined us last year, I asked a simple question. Who is going to be premiers in 2022? And without taking a breath, Port have got it. No, I can't see anybody beating us. Port, we've got this in the... No, I reckon we are a massive chance. I think Kenny's going to take it to the promised land. We've got the list. There's no reason why we can't make it. And then after you lost the first 5 games in a row, how did that feel? Did the prediction, were you still holding on to it tight, or did you just sort of slip through the fingers?
Thanks very much. It's been great to be here. Excellent. Have a great night. And we'll see you next year. That's great. Thanks for the chat, mate. It's been good. Hey, thank you. Hello. G'day.
Hello.
Yes, mate. After 5 rounds. Look, it's funny you say that, and I felt like the season was going to be, if we did in any way a damage, it would be that we'd just snuck into 8th position.
Yep.
And we'll then be shaky in every game in the finals. We'll probably have injuries on the way because we've had to kind of do it really, really hard to get to the 8th position. So it was going to be just one of those, it's just a really hard season. Funny enough, if you take away those first 5 games, of course you have every right to be positive coming into this season. You have to be absolutely stupid not to be positive, but also you have to know the damaged goods that you're buying. Investing in investing in financially, investing in your spirit. So absolutely investing in with your time with the podcast, the Portress podcast that we do here. I think we have Craig. Craig's actually may have joined us. I'm not sure if we can hear him or not. That's the only issue. But
no, he's with us. I can see him now too. But
I can't hear him.
You got to look at it. You lost your first 5.
Yep.
And then you won 10 out of your remaining 22, 17. So you came home with a flurry, and there were some really good wins in that sort of back end of the season too. And I think that's what you can hold your head up high about. There were some good wins. You obviously got across the road from Essendon, where you beat them pretty much twice in about 5 weeks.
Yes.
You ended up, you had the win against Geelong, the win against St Kilda. You had a great win against Brisbane. And I think I was actually reading your finals results, not actually your season results. But you sort of picked these up towards the back end.
No, Brisbane won.
No, here it is. I had the wrong page. But yeah, everything sort of picked up when you had, you beat Western Bulldogs. You had North. You got over the line again against Essendon. A great win against Sydney. A great win against the Gold Coast. GWS. Then you had a run of 4 losses, and you finished off with Essendon and Adelaide. So it was a pretty lowly start. A really good middle. The wheels fell off a little bit towards the end, and then 2 wins to finish off the season. So where do you think it went wrong last year? Because I have my opinion, but I want to hear it from you, Maddie. Where did you think the wheels sort of fell off early? Was the scars from the previous final series attributing to that? Or how did you see it as a supporter of and a member of the Port Adelaide Power?
So 10 out of 17 doesn't reflect the 17 games if you're just looking at wins and losses.
Yep.
Some of those losses were, if you want to, for when I've been on the winning side of us beating a team, and sometimes even beating a team by 30, 40 points, and we get they still had an honourable loss kind of here.
Yep.
I think then I would have to buy that there were pretty much every game was of the 7 games that we lost were honourable losses. We're very competitive. Connor Rosie went in the middle. That Carlton game we lost in round 5. the second half, from the beginning of the third quarter, we looked the same from that third quarter. For that 8 minutes of that third quarter, basically we were consistent for the rest of the season, and that's just something that's just giving me confidence this year. And I've got a little bit more balance in this season for all my predictions and stuff. I'm going to be honest, but I'm also very hopeful that Port can be, for one thing. I know this is just, mate. This is just in every sport, just anything in life is basically just super intensely competitive every quarter.
That's what you want.
You've seen your team this in the last overall even 3 or 4 or 5 years. Simon Goodwin's got Melbourne, where you feel. I know it sounds funny because there are some games where they would be really pants bit as well, but there is this kind of going to the game, sitting down, putting TV on, where you just know, because the history says in every other game for the last whatever months or whatever, that your team shows up. So, and
I agree.
And they don't have to look at Geelong. You don't have to win. Like finally getting a premiership last year was actually. You don't have to tell me that everyone in Geelong is relieved. They're not. They're not celebrating as much as relief.
Oh, I think there's relief that they got one. I think
they've been really good for a while and not getting it.
But I think they're relieved because the plan that they went with paid off.
I just feel that they probably deserve one earlier, and Selwood has not deserved to get missed so long. He's such a good player. They're a really good team. If I was a Geelong fan, I'd be like, we've been short in the last couple of years and we shouldn't have.
No. Let's be honest. They've got enough now. They can start sharing it around. Right? They've won 4 since you won your last one. So
back to my point is that I feel like Port Adelaide, in that second half of the year, we're back to where they've been in the years past, where, for one thing's for sure, Geelong, Melbourne and Port fans have all gone to a game going, our team is going to show up. More than 78%.
You got more hope than pain going into a game. And I think you were right there when you have a look at the end to the season, because you talked about those, and I don't like that term honourable loss anymore, because that's almost...
I hear that.
But if you think about it, the Port Adelaide game against Richmond, there was only a 2-goal loss there. The Fremantle game at Port, which was a real... at Optus Stadium, that was 8 points. Then you had against the D's, 14 points there. Geelong, bit of another 12 points there. Collingwood, a goal. And even the Richmond game, well, that was probably the biggest pantsy, which was 38 points. But what it was you were a lot closer. You had a really interesting sort of makeup where your average winning margin was 41 points, but your average losing margin was 20 points. So that's a 60-point spread, a 10-goal spread from when you win to when you lose. So it was almost like you were either on and dominated, or you just weren't close enough. And that just showed in the results. And even those first 5 games, there was a 4-point loss, there was a 3-point loss, and there was an 11-point loss. So they weren't big. It was just something was missing. Something was missing.
And that something is something that I'm concerned has a lot to do with, from the minute after the siren of the last game, right up until the last message that he and his team, the coaching department, leave before the boys get on the ground, whether that be even one-on-ones the day before or whatever, their last meeting on the Thursday, the captain's run, whatever it is, there's something about that connection that you just can't replicate, that when a coach gets that click. And it's not that Ken hasn't got it. I mean, in fact, if you've been around for as long as he has, he knows when, like anyone, when your car, the times when your car was running good and when your car wasn't running good. And he has a really good team at the moment, but it's all very good bunch of individuals. There's some scars already. There's some pressure and expectations. There's some real interesting stories. You've got players like those 3 players that came in together, and Dersma and Butters and Rosie, that have got a bit of hey, you 3 of you individually, you've shown some signs. Dersma's probably, it's his turn. Each of those other boys have had their individual moments and still need to kind of go again. But Dersma really has been just injuries. It's been an issue for him. But then, the new kid comes on town, Jason Horne-Francis. I'd be so fascinated to see the training sessions. I enjoyed watching the internal match the other day.
Yep.
Really fascinating to kind of see. My biggest issue is that all the expectation, all the fluff, all the major talents on the side,
yep.
And the biggest question that's like it's such an obvious question. Everyone knows this. Is that can Ken have again the Rolls Royce and all the great team,
yep.
and then just he can
Can he harness it? Can he just bring it all together? Well? Exactly right. And look, I'll tell you what, if Jamie the J-Dog Wallis, we love the J-Dog, my co-host with the most. If he said it, he's not a big fan of Ken. All right. But then he goes in Can We Trust, and he's there again with you. If you have a look at Ken's coaching record, it's been there since 2013. 223 games coached at a winning percentage of 58%. So he's still in the positive. There's been some seasons where you've had winning percentages of 75%, 79%, 64%. Then there's other seasons where you're under that 50 mark. You've had a 45, you've had a 50 just on, and last year was 47. So it's a little bit like you're scoring. It's either really high or it's sitting under as well too. When we have a look at your fixture and the way things are set up, when it comes down to the Liz Smiley ski double-ups, you've got Adelaide, Collingwood, Essendon, Geelong, Richmond and Western Bulldogs twice. And if you have a look at that mix, Adelaide are definitely going to improve. Collingwood, we're not sure where they're going to sit. Essendon, same sort of thing, but at a different level. And I think you should be able to take both of those out. Geelong, so which Geelong are they going to be taking another step, or are they just coming back to the mark a little bit? Richmond, same sort of thing. Are they going to take another step with the inclusions that they've got? But remember, they've still got that older talent. And then the Western Bulldogs with their sort of new makeup, forward line, back line. Where are they going to sit? Because obviously the disappointing year that they had last year. Your first four, Brisbane at home. That's going to be a massive test straight off the bat. Collingwood away, Adelaide at home for the showdown, and then Sydney away. So not exactly the easiest run for the first four. And then your last three, Greater Western Sydney at home, Fremantle away, and Richmond at home. AFL have got your fixture as the fourth hardest schedule in terms of fixture base up, which is tough for a team that finished 10th last year. Okay, so that's not exactly easy. Sorry, 11th last year. So that's not exactly what you want. You want to have a bit of an easy draw. But once again, that's going at the start of the year. Some of those teams might fall completely off the wagon. You could have an absolute blinder. You just don't know. We saw what happened to Collingwood the year before. We've seen other teams come forward. Injuries are a massive factor, and you've been hit by injuries quite a fair bit to a lot of your keys as well.
To be honest with you, mate, how I always see it is I really just look at the overall package of the whole year and even just how it's run in and out of my club's kind of design. And I always see that I hear every year about that it's going to be harder, some of the teams, and then obviously, hello, we can see Craig. How you going, Craig? And then invariably nothing's consistent. It's harder, and we get injuries. So it's to that prediction. If that runs out in the script, it's almost a bit of a miracle that it will actually turn out that way.
Yeah, exactly right. And the thing is that you have a look at some of the players that have been on your list. And you expected a lot out of them. Like the perfect one that sits out to me, who would absolutely, you'd worry about him quite a fair bit when you were playing against him at Essendon. He's come over to you and had the worst run of injury. And we're talking about Orazio.
Yes.
Fantasia. Yeah. Like he's hardly been on the park at all for Port. And that's got to be frustrating. Probably another reason why you went out and got Junior Rioli over to the club. But if you have a look at his career, like he's last 2 seasons where he's been at your club, he played 15 games in the first season and 1 game last year. Like he played 16 out of a possible 44 games.
27 years of age. He's in that real prime as a medium forward, and his kind of agility and everything. If he can get his injuries right, he is almost like a brand new player, as you say, because we've only had him for 1 game and we've seen what he's done in the past. He's damaging. Mate, the guy is one of those guys that if we fast forward right now to the end of the year, we play in a grand final and he plays an amazing game, we go, it pays off. And that's kind of like, even if, okay, we play in a semi-final or a prelim again and we lose, but he has a great game and it's not, that almost doesn't he could have just done a grand final if we get there. He's actually a really, really good player. And that's the kind of thing that I go, we've got to, I think now I'm hearing that he's had a injury-free preseason, fingers and toes and tongue and eyes crossed and everything.
Yeah.
But I hear that he's having apparently, if not one of his best preseasons ever, it's what I'm hearing. Which hopefully all good.
Don't jinx the poor boy.
Yes, exactly.
But you know what? You have a look at and I look at your list, and there is just so much potential. All the way down, and if I start from a backline position, and I'm just picking names that really stand out to me. You've got names, obviously the hyphen, Darcy Byrne-Jones, Riley Bonner's down there, two-time Aaliyah, Tom Cleary, Dan Houston, Ryan Burton. He's at his prime, 26 years of age, 117 games. Tom Jonas, skipper, like he's still running around, setting things up there. So having him at fullback. Aaliyah at centre half back just has a nice little spine to it. You then have a look at your forwards. Like your forwards, where do you want to start? And I'm just once again picking names out. Charlie Dixon seemed to have that situation again last year where he'd play really well against bottom 8 clubs, not as well against top 8. I've had that as a concern for the last few years, and Jamie tends to agree. You've got Mitch Georgiades at the wings.
The height Marshall. The height is terrible in the back line.
Sam Powell-Pepper as well too. Trent Dumont. If I could keep going, absolutely sensational to look at. And then you have a look at your midfielders, and this is where it gets even better for you. And I think some of these are sort of set up a bit incorrectly, but you've got the Penfolds Wines in the middle there, like an absolute beast. Miles Bergman in there, probably one of the best captains running around for any club. Love like everything that Travis Boak brings on the field, off the field, like. If I was starting up a club and I wanted one person to set the standards, even if it was for one season, it would have been him.
And the fact is that even at 34, 5, he actually has not dropped off. Like
he hasn't.
And he is prepared to, the minute that he says that he's probably has a fair few injuries or something and he starts getting soft tissues or whatever, he knows that'll be the day. But he's actually just been able to look after himself.
He's been really reliable over his career when you have a look at his sort of playing stocks as well too, in terms of games played. Okay. Most years he's played 20-odd games. There's only been five out of the 16 seasons he's played less than 20 games. And a couple of those were 18 and 19. So it was only maybe his first couple of years it wasn't there. So back
in 2007 when he was 6 when we got him.
Yep.
I wasn't on a podcast to be recorded that I made a prediction that was really genius. I heard that his dad was, like, apart from obviously cancer, being the kind of thing that got him fitness-wise, like he was a real fit guy and was, he at an older age was fit. And I thought, if you think about the Craig Bradleys and you just think about even now the modern player and they can take. I just feel like I reckon you never know. He could be one of the 300s, and that'd be really. So I reckon he could go. And I just said, okay, 100 to like 200, he's fit. And when he got that 250, I'm thinking, and he's just captain excelled. It's just been great to see him just go. And I'm actually really believe that he can go to 450 and go.
450.
He'll do. Where's at the moment? It's
he's at 327 now. So
327. Mate, he'll do 400
first.
He'll do 400, but he'll do 400. But I reckon he can go beyond that. I reckon he wants to go to
38. So you still reckon
he's talking about 40. So who knows? Look, if he's really fit and strong, and he just loves what he's doing.
Could you imagine if, like, next year I come back and he retired and I play that audio of you saying that he'll be playing when he's 40?
That's the thing. Let me play it then, because I actually think that's the thing I love about it, where he's at right now. He's in one of those, I think he has 1 year contracts only, and he is in that kind of where he's at a peak and he knows, like, like the Bachelorette when she meets every guy, she'll never be as good as that moment. That's
the moment. Once you see those eyes lock,
he lives in that moment.
Away.
He's living in that peak moment, and he also is aware that, like I said earlier, yes, and put this in the recordings, like there is absolutely, he lives in the moment of every game, because an injury or two, and it would just be that much harder to come back, even though he has got all the fitness to recovery to be fast, it's better. He knows that obviously just you can't fit Father Time, so he I think, and he also, I love this kind of thing about it, because the game's only getting faster, so he's actually kind of living at the at speed gear number 5 and going, I got to be at fifth gear because everyone else is at 5 and 6. This is my 5, and it's really good. But if he drops off, it's going to be harder. So he's just
got a massive engine, and he doesn't have to, but he's still got that little bit of speed off the mark. But he's just an aerobic beast, and he just links everybody up. Like I said, he's one of my top 10 players at the league. Because of who he is, Boki, absolutely love him. And then you've got the Holy Trinity. I've mentioned these guys before, and you mentioned them too. Connor Rosie, Dersma, and Butters. They're at that 23 range. So they're now got to take that next step.
Yes.
And one guy who I thought really stood up, and Craig, you definitely, hopefully, if you don't drop out, want to go with this one, is one person who his role changed considerably last year from the start was Jeremy Finlayson, in terms of he went from being a forward to that sort of roving ruck.
We lost life.
Yeah, that was a massive win for you guys across the board.
Mate, Craig, you there? Are you able to chat?
Yeah, I can talk.
Yeah, you can talk. Yeah. You're just going to give him a chance to talk. He's been sitting there for 20 minutes waiting to get a word in.
I'm on the website and stuff. Sorry that give that.
No, good. Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on my end. I've switched my bloody phone.
Did not know that you were.
It's okay. It's all good.
Going.
It's all good.
Apologise, buddy.
No, all good. Jeremy Finlayson in the middle was a really good move last year, and obviously we didn't have much choice. We tried a few other options with going to make sure I get Hayes. We had Sam Hayes and Sam Mays.
You had both of them.
Yes, we had both. So we gave him a go. Wasn't quite up to the standard he needed to be, and then we brought in the big swinging Teakle, who.
Injured.
That was football related. The big swinging Teakle, is that hopefully that's a player?
Well, for some people at the club, I was going to say that some people at the club, his nickname is Tess.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough. Yep. Okay. Yep. Got it. Yep. Okay. Swing Teakle. Okay. I got it now.
How many minutes into the game was he before he got injured?
It was just after. He was just into the second quarter, I think, where he got injured in the Sydney game.
Yep.
But he had a really good game there, and then he came back, I think, for a game later in the year, but I don't think he was quite ready to come back.
Yep.
So Jeremy Finlayson was really our only option in the ruck, and he did very well. And we did some very weird things in the ruck last year, also throwing Sam Powell-Pepper at times instead of ruck, which was a bit of a strange move, but at times it works.
It'll never be Jeremy Finlayson. Dunkley being the number one ruckman for the Western Bulldogs, if you remember the way that they used to do that a couple of years ago as well too.
Yeah, I do remember that.
You debuted five guys in there, had 5 guys play every game. One of those, Matty's happy to see the back of Carl Amon moving over to Hawthorn. He reckons he's not going to be that much of a loss to the group.
I'm not happy about it, but
on the flip side, though, you did bring in another guy who sort of snuck in a little bit under the radar. I call him the Rhino, otherwise known as Jason Horne-Francis. He sooked it up at North Melbourne. He sooked it up at North Melbourne, and then wanted to come home to South Australia. And you gave up the farm for him to get him across as well too. Which, you know what? So be it. If it works out for him, great. If it doesn't, North came out okay out of it after a season. He might come out of it better. Hopefully it all wins. What have you seen so far? I know you're a little bit excited, Matty, when we were chatting a bit earlier itself too, but from your perspective, Craig, what have you seen so far? What have you heard? about how he's not just settled in, but how he's performing and standards as well too. That there was a question about at North last year. How's he sort of looking at it this year so far?
Well, for one thing, at the very least, he's got an actual medical staff behind him that can look at some of his injuries that he had.
Oh, here we go.
Ooh, jeez. Well, the reports were that he ended up having surgery on his knee after he came over, and he reckons he was carrying that pretty much most of the year at North Melbourne. Yep. And part of the reason why he didn't want to take ice baths is because it was too goddamn painful to put that knee in the ice.
Fair enough.
So he's all good now, and he's been training for a month.
He seems to be all good. I know it was said that he was quiet during the trial match last week, and I'll admit, yes, he was, but at the same time, clubs do that pretty much all off-season, and it's probably just gotten to the point where you just get tired of doing the same thing over and over again, which is why hopefully come up to the trial games coming up for the next week or so, we should see something a bit different from him and Junior.
Random question. I haven't mentioned this on any other podcast, but I'll throw this one to you because you brought up. Do we even need practice matches anymore? Or should we just go straight into the season?
I can't. Oh, sorry, you go.
Sorry. I think they are still worth something. At the very least, you can see where some of your players are against another side and see potentially what you may want to change or may not want to change, seeing how they would go against another team.
Yep.
The answer is in the fact that if they just ran them and the two clubs just got together and it wasn't televised and the two clubs with full teams just smash it out at 2:30 in the afternoon or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you had no idea it happened and round one came around and you said, they didn't do practice match. Yeah, you did. Just no one. It was all everyone there attended was all club people. Then that was probably, but then there's no money in that, and that's where you kind of see that.
Well, they're doing it now. They're doing their unsanctioned. They've got the sanctioned one and the unsanctioned one. Ooh.
Yeah, and look, it's probably something to be said about actually the dusting off the cobwebs of the media and all those kind of guys as well, because finally in mid to late March, round one, everyone will have their act together, and so be it. Even the people that are delivering it on the TV and on the screens, they'll also, you do see a little bit of just everyone hasn't been around doing this stuff. They've obviously been probably doing the tennis or cricket or something, but doing the football, especially,
that's why we do these. Yeah. We do these because we love our footy, but we also I do 18 of these, and by the first episode, I'm still dusting.
Perhaps, mate, it could be worse, mate. It could be worse.
It could be GWS.
The AFL could bring back AFLX.
Oh, no.
Only Fitch is a two-time AFL champion. No. Can I just Wikipedia? I was the one who wrote that.
Can I go back to something? Can I quickly, mate? Just go back to something. Just interesting because I love what you're talking about the three players, the trio, and then when you tie in Wines and then Francis coming back, and then what we were talking about with Boki, I'm really fascinated because now Robbie Gray's gone. I'm really fascinated about the whole balance between using almost every one of those players, and each of those players where how much time they have forward and back in mid and whatever, and Houston in middle and Sam Powell-Pepper, how much time. It's all just because every single player has got to adapt to being at different ends of the ground, and I'm super fascinated how that all just plays out. The pieces of the chest board. It's just makes me just go. Oh, I'm so excited to watch it when I'm at the game watching it.
And I think you mentioned one of those guys a moment ago. I reckon you have the most hyphens in a team. All right, but Sam Powell-Pepper, bar none, had his best year last year. Like he moved up to a more of a forward mid role. He kicked his 24 for the season in 22 games. He locked in 11 Brownlow votes, which is nothing bad to sneeze at there. Perfect sort of way, because you need those players who are just because he was sort of floating for, I reckon, a couple of years. It was sort of where does he fit? Where's his mix? And I think perfectly, like last year, he just stepped it up big time and made a massive difference to you as well too. And obviously the issues with, unfortunately, with Aaliyah, it doesn't make it doesn't make it easy when you're not going to have one of your big backmen down there for a majority of the season. It makes it tough. So you got a guy that steps forward to kick more goals, but you haven't got the other big guy down the back. So if you get him back, brilliant. Where is Dan Houston, though? Where do you see his career? Because he's at 26, 121 games. Where do you see him? Because I don't know. It's like, you know how every team has that player? Is he the player that people at Port love to hate, or is it, I don't know, who's the player that Port have that is their problem child? Everybody goes, oh, it's his
Craig.
fault.
You know.
Well,
I thought it might be him, but I could be wrong.
No. Everyone loves Dan Houston.
Take that all back.
I would say it's a tie between two players that most Port supporters don't like, and that is Riley Bonner and Darcy Byrne-Jones.
Yep, they're the two I would have said too.
The All-Australian. No one likes the All-Australian. How come?
They feel that his 1 year All-Australian and then he's fallen back in the last couple of years.
Oh, that's
He's not where he should be.
They both turn over the ball and clangers. They hesitate. They're again, and also too, they're both super really good players, and they're got to be. If they look in the mirror, they know that they've got a lot more to come in their career. They really haven't reached their potential at all. Both of those players, they're really good players.
Played 17 games last year, so
they're really good players. But
they just.
Darcy's getting more towards the end of his career.
Yeah. What's he? He's only 27, so he's probably got another couple more years.
Yeah.
Now, who's going to fill the whole of Robbie Gray? Like, let's be honest. Robbie Gray would go down top 4. I'll extend the number. Top 5 players ever at Port. Bar none.
Yeah, sure.
In my humble opinion, all right? You obviously got the two powers of Treadray and Wanganeen. They're the two big ones. But then you've still got Boakey. So I'd say Boakey would be up there as well too. But as just, for what he got out of himself, and he did a knee, and he almost got better when he came back from that knee. That's not easy to fill, because it was almost like, all right, if we're in trouble, we know Robbie can do something. Even if it's after the siren, we know Robbie can do something. Who's going to step into the Robbie Gray shoes? Who's going to be the colour man for the team now if Gray's not there?
Well, that's part of the reason why Robbie gave his number to Butters.
Okay. Fair point. Give us more, Craig. Give us more.
Well, Robbie was the one that actually was the one that looked at Zach Butters and went, he's a lot like what I am, and was the one that pushed the recruiters to pick him up.
Oh, okay. So he saw him and went, I like the cut of that boy's jib.
Yep, and that's why he's now. That's why Robbie's now one of our recruiters.
Smart man. So he's looking for something within himself, and he's played his 68 games, so he's got a good core now behind him. Why not? 181, 75 kegs. Look, that's what this says. But he had a good year last year again. I think you were right that you know what you're going to expect from Butters. Rosie just went to a completely different level in the second half of the season, to the point that people were saying that he might even be a Brownlow chance. I think that you're right. It was almost like the one who started quicker than the other two, which was Dersma. Do you remember the old... He came out flying and then sort of had his injury issues, etc. You're really hoping for a lot out of him this year, because he's probably had 30-odd games or a season behind the other two just from everything that's been going on. Matty?
The reason why I think that Jason Horne-Francis is a perfect fit for us is because when we lose Robbie Gray, you get Zach kind of move out of that one demand and the one role that Jason Horne-Francis will fill, and that's where, you got obviously Butters filling Gray's role. So it's a kind of just everyone just kind of shuffles the decks just a little bit, and I can. No, then obviously the other component is there is no 100% guarantee with the ratio, so that's where Rioli comes in. So I think you've got the coverage. The club has done it really well with the recruiting. So yeah.
Oh, definitely. And if you have a look, who they've brought in, you've got Jason Horne-Francis obviously came in, Kyle Marshall from the draft, Tom McCallum from the draft. You've got Junior Rioli, who's going to add. You've also got to remember Julian Rioli. I know he is a little bit older, but taking the fact that he didn't play for 2 seasons, So his body's going to be cherry ripe to come down to your mob. So he's got a lot of redemption as well too. So he wants to play well. You got Horne-Francis going through the middle, who isn't going to be the club saviour like he probably was at North. He's going to be sitting under Boak. He's going to be sitting under Wallis. He's probably the third midfielder from that perspective. Then you throw in the spunk factor of Rosie. That's a nice starting core to run with. And then depending on what you do, whether you get Lai set back or whether you go with the Finlayson sort of hybrid type of model, that starting middle is really nice. I really like what you've got going on there.
Well,
Charlie Dixon?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, he wants to play another 5 years.
Do you reckon he can? He's 32, so...
I don't know, something in the chicken, mate, for these boys.
Well,
they fit and strong.
From what I'm hearing, he's finally got the right headspace. He's actually moved out to the country now here in SA, I think Mount Barker or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. And he's just been able to just go in the off-season, no surgeries, and he's feeling 100%. He's looking good.
And it's a bit of a shame too because his last 4 seasons... 2019, he only played 9 games. 2020, he played 18. He can kick 34 that season. 2021 was the big one. That was the year that you should have been in the grand final. Let's be honest. We'll call it for what it is. He had a great year kicking 48. That was where he was just kicking the start of the season. He was just kicking bags.
Mm-hmm.
Did he get an All Australian at least nomination or something that year? I think
I'd have to go back and have a check.
He may not have made it.
And then last year gets injured again and unfortunately kicks 16 from 12. So he's the type of guy that he needs a pre-season under him. Otherwise, he's just going to struggle throughout.
And good luck at times. He can twist an ankle just in the most innocuous way.
I'm telling you now, it comes down to shit tat syndrome. I've said it in every other. If someone has shit tats, they're going to be injury struck. I'm telling you now. You go through the people who have shit tats, they always get injured.
Just to
for your stats.
Yep.
It was 2020 that Dixon had his best year, finished second outright on the Coleman and was selected to the All-Australian team, but didn't actually get in the outside.
Was that 2021?
2020.
2020. He only kicked 34 goals that year.
And he was the second in the Coleman.
Okay, then.
Yeah, that was COVID year.
Of course. Played 18 games that year. So he played every game. Okay, take that back. Yes, he had a cracking year. So he had 2 good years and then one fell over. Crikey, we forget about the anomaly that was 2020.
Isn't? Yeah, no, it's forgotten almost, isn't it? I was just going to say an interesting thing too in the answer. I think about this year and I bought these tickets where I'm going to be going to a couple of games, fair few games throughout the beginning of the year, and I just think fun. I don't know why, but I just feel a bit of joyousness. There is the heat in the kitchen when it comes to the coach, and it's inevitably his last season have to win the premiership really to keep his job. To be honest, that's how I see it.
Yep.
Get into a grand final. It couldn't be losing prelim again. That would have to be one that I don't even know, because if we lose it by 1 point, get rid of him. If we lose it by 100 points, can he leave the ground safely? I don't know. I feel like he has to get us into the actual last game to keep his job. So I feel like there's some but joyousness in the way that we've got a lot of players that surely in their youth were and even their early days, like they were playing with flair, and just I feel like we've got that kind of side that's going to give us joy. So hopefully
you need the shackles to be pulled off a bit, don't you?
Yeah,
it's almost like we make these kids, we hire these kids, we bring these kids in or bring players in because of their style and how they do things, and they've got style, they've got pizzazz, they've got flair. They're literally like the nanny, and we bring them in and we turn them into robots, and we strip back, or we withhold that X factor about them. And then if we see it, then we let it loose. I think with Port, it's just like, okay, guys, I just want you to play footy. Like, don't try and overthink it. What's interesting about your mob, though, and this makes me laugh when I see it. So you've won the last 13. You haven't lost to Gold Coast since 2012.
Correct.
Yet you were the first team that they ever got a win against. So it's almost like, okay, we'll give you one, but we'll take the next 12 after that, give or take. You know what I mean?
Mate, everyone's been sleepy at the wheel once and just didn't die, but then just learnt their lesson from the one time that they've gone off the road.
Two words for you, buddy.
I still blame Westhoff for that game.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody blames Westhoff. But then what's an interesting fact, which I look at this and go, well, I didn't exactly know that. You haven't lost to Sydney in your past 6 as well, too. So for a team that plays, I call them the Swiss, I call John Longmire the Swiss Army knife of the AFL, because he uses the knife one week, but he'll use the toothpick the next, he'll use the spanner the week after. He's just got plan after plan. But, you've got a really strong record against them, and that's something that not many clubs have. So you match up really well against them, obviously match up really well against Gold Coast. And looking at what you've got here, you don't play either of those teams twice, which is a bit of a suck, because they could almost be 4 wins in total for you. So a couple of questions I need to throw at you, and you can either do this which way or you like. Risers and sliders. So, Maddie, I'll start with you. So based on what you've seen and what you've noticed, etc., who is a player on your list that you think is going to rise up the ranks? Now, it could be someone that we've never heard about who's going to break into the side and do well, or it even could be somebody who's been sort of floating around for a little bit, but you reckon he's really going to spike in 2023.
Okay. There's a couple. I could think from just, you're right, nobody like a Jake Bassini. I could talk about someone like that, but
well, talk about that guy. Tell me about Jake Bassini, because I've only seen his name in the book, but I don't know anything about him. What can you tell me about Jake?
Let's go with Jake. I think I'm going to go with Jake. Yeah, Jake Bassini. Jake Bassini is a 22-year-old, 192 centimetres, 86 kilos. Look, he's had a couple of injuries in the last couple of years. Hasn't played a game, so he'll debut hopefully beginning of this year sometime. And I believe he had a pretty good game on the weekend in internal trial, and I think this is his year where he'll look. There's going to be. I don't think he'll start probably straight away. I'm not sure if he'll start straight away, but there's going to be opportunities. And as you say too, with height, that being a factor. And now, did you say is Aaliyah not? When did we see Aaliyah back?
Aaliyah is playing, actually.
Oh, he's playing. So I thought he's got back from his injuries and stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
So like you've got. I think it's going to be a situation where this is his year though. He's had injuries, and he had also. Craig, help me out here. Did he have something where he had a surgery?
Oh, he had a tear in his ACL. Yeah, he had a tear in his ACL, which really sucked because. He had his injuries. He would have perfectly slotted into those particular circumstances.
From my memory, though, his recovery, he had some other, not sepsis, but like other shit that happened with his injury, and his recovery took extra time. And the poor kid's gone through a bit of a battle at 22. He's a really good player, and he's worth the club kind of investing in keeping. And yeah, you can't. Key defenders don't.
Good ones. And I do take it back. I thought I thought double A did his knee. So I do take that back, and we just had a look at his history. And if he played 19 games with a torn ACL, like that's the best recovery since Tony Liberatore came back after 16 weeks, many years ago. So you've got one there. What about you, Craig? If we had a look at a bit of a slider, so if you had a look at some sliders, so players that. They don't do something, they could be out at the end of the year, or they're on their way out towards, or you've got a bit of a concern over them. Does anyone sort of catch your eye from that perspective?
That is a good question. I mean, I'm not. It's a bit of a hard one. There's a few players that we do have in our team that I'm just really not 100% sure on. There is brought up earlier, Riley Bonner. He is in and out the side a bit. Really depends if he gets in or not. He could be one that potentially is on the chopping block, especially with the likes of Jace Burgoyne coming through, and even Lockie Jones and some of those. If they're getting in the side, I don't see Bonner making it.
Riley's 25. Riley's 25. He's at a perfect time to
he's in that perfect time, but
190 centimetres, 85 kilos. He's
time waits for no man, no Matty. That's the thing.
That's the thing. And
exactly
with on the heels of Jace Burgoyne and Lockie Jones, he's going to struggle.
Yeah.
And then probably the other one that may be a slider out with some of the changes coming in is young Jed McEntee.
Okay.
So he got a fair few games last year. Came in because we just needed any kind of forward we could get our hands on.
Yep.
He ended up playing 10 games last year. Oh, no, sorry, debuted in 21. So I think he played at least one game in 21 and then potentially 9 this year.
Yep.
Not a bad kid. We brought him in more as he's a lockdown forward. He's tackling machine. He can get in there and do those kinds of things. But again, I think with Sam Powell Pepper up forward, bringing in Jason Horne-Francis, and I reckon even Francis Evans coming in, I reckon he's going to be really struggling for his spot on the side as well.
I have to ask you about this bloke, and I sort of should have mentioned him before we did this little bit, but we've got it at the moment with Cozzy Pickett, right? I know you got your eyes on him, but you've got nothing to give us. So I don't know how you're going to do that for next year. So if you can work it out, give me a call. But there's a guy playing for your mob this year. I think his contract's up. I know there's people back over in Western Australia looking at him. Mitch Georgiades.
Mm-hmm.
He could be anything, this bloke. Could be anything. What's that? Like up
If he's a Fremantle or West Coast want him, 3 first rounders minimum.
You reckon 3 first rounders for him?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
I almost
interesting. I'd maybe give one and maybe. I know you're shaking your head, but if you want to pay them for reputation, go for it. But why do you say, Craig, that he's worth 3 first rounders? Which is, we're talking Judd-like, we're talking Jackson-like.
We don't want to get rid of him. That's why.
Like, do you know what I mean? I know you don't want to get rid of him, and they have to pay the price. You have to pay the piper.
Yes.
But what is it about him that makes you go, he could be like, he's going to be worth it? Because at the moment, I don't think he's worth 3.
Yeah, he's got
to be honest, right? he's got a very good set of mitts on him. Can take a really nice mark. And in his first year, he was showing that he can kick goals. It was just for whatever reason last year he had the yips. Had massive yips on him for last year in his kicking. Don't know what it was. Don't know what he changed. But for whatever reason, maybe you could call it second year blues. I don't know. But he just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
You're right, though, because he's 2021. He had 21 games, including 3 games he was subbed off, and he kicked 32 for the year, which was exceptional. Played 2 games less last year and only was able to kick 23. Now, that could be a combination, though, of the ball not coming down to him as cleanly. You got to also remember that you didn't have a great start as well, too. So that could be also – so there might be the factors that, your best year that you've had in a long time was 2021. That's when he performed. Mm-hmm. Didn't have a great year last year, went down a little bit as well too. So forwards are really only as good as the ball coming in to a degree as well too. So if it's not coming in, as we would say, lace out, because that's how forwards and everybody wants their footy, it's going to make it hard for him to kick goals as well too.
My thoughts on that is that I wonder how much of the other players and everything around him is factoring. So does Marshall's success play into whether he's left apart or is he included in Marshall's success? But then there's this factor of could we foresee the script playing well that he's with us with Marshall for the next 10 to 15 years as the 2 duo in the forward line, because we know they're the babies of the group and Charlie Dixon is not going to be around in 10 to 15 years time. So the biggest question you got is the growth of those 2 players together, Marshall and Georgiades, work perfectly while Charlie Dixon is in the side. Otherwise, Charlie needs to kind of work his way up the ground a little bit. And then how much do you factor in Lysett, Teakle, and obviously even Finlayson? How much do they all factor in and actually in a way become get out of my way. I'm trying. How much do they factor as being a positive or a negative to how these boys play? Because at the end of the day, you're right. They look at the end of the day, they're going to look and say, if I'm not getting the games or I'm being squeezed out, let's go home. So, I don't know. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, and when you got Marshall, he kicked 45-15. That's mega accurate. And then Powell Pepper and Mitch Georgiades. So if you've got Marshall and Mitch Georgiades The issue is that they've tried to play Todd Marshall in the ruck as well too. It's a little bit like the Tim English scenario down at the Dogs. Do we play forward, or do we play him back? Mate, when you kick him 45-15, stick him down forward. Charlie, you need to be maybe that third option, but are you going to play three talls?
So Chris, the biggest thing for our coaching department this year is to strike while the iron is hot. When you've got a player that's good in the forward line, why go and then put him in the back line or midfield or get him, take him down the ground a bit. Put him when they're hot, play him in the right role. Don't teeter and try to play with the formula, and I think that's something that's going to be interesting to see how the combination between on and off field and everything plays out, and hopefully it goes to script.
Matty, why does a player run off after 30 seconds once he's kicked a goal?
That's really
we don't know. There's some science behind it. There's just,
and
I always say it's like who wants to be a millionaire. You know the answer's A. You know deep down it's A, but you go with B because A's too obvious.
And that is right, and that's one that's very visceral in our eyes when we see the player run off. But I think one, not to say one's more dangerous than the other, but a player that does play out of position when they're hot or even just where their skill set is. Okay, well then this has got to do with then team selection or even recruiting. Like, where's the cancer in the club? So hopefully there's no cancer at the moment. I hope it's all going to gel right.
Yeah, exactly right. All right, let's have a look at it from a team's perspective. Okay, so let's flip the script on this one. Craig, look at it from the AFL lens. So what teams can you see rising up the ladder this year? And once again, it can be teams in the bottom half of the 8 moving their way up, or it could be teams in the top 8 moving to top 4 higher as well too. Matty, I'm going to get you to do the same, but I want you to do it from a sliding perspective. So what teams are going to slide down the ladder in your humble opinion? I'll start with you, Craig, with your options for 2023.
Sure. Well, some people may see this one as an obvious one, but I reckon Gold Coast will go up, and I reckon they'll potentially play their first finals in their history.
Awesome. Okay. Now, what's led to that? Because that's, interestingly enough, come up a number of times already. But from your perspective, what's giving you that? What can you say?
They just seem to be getting all the bits together. They did very well last year. Had they probably had some of the cogs that they needed last year, they probably would have made the 8.
Yes.
I think losing King didn't help. I know Matty Rao was able to get in there, but he's still having his problems. Hopefully he's over his injuries and he'll be able to start producing more. And they'll get the right cogs together. And there were some surprises. I mean, Casbolt for them was just, I was not expecting him to do anything with them.
Yeah, he was there as a backup. And what about Marlborough Troll? Like, did you see the
wasn't expecting that either.
I call him the top deck based on his haircut. Like, did you see him? Those two setting what they did in front of goals, kicking close to 90, close to 80 between them. Like,
I wasn't expecting that, but
they could have been able to do that. Yeah.
No. So I think as long as they get, they're going to miss Rankin, but. Yeah, I've said other places what I feel about Rankin, but that's just me.
We can talk about that later on. So you see them taking a step up, which is really.
I reckon they'll take a step up, make the 8 as long as they can keep King on the park and make sure someone like Matty Rao and some of the others that they've got just need to make sure they do stay on the park and keep going. I think Stewie Jew's got that core ready to go. He's just got to actually have it on the park. Then he can at least make a crack for the 8. At the very least, I hope they win at least one final.
Yeah, they've got players that want to be there, and it's a major.
And I'm hoping they win at least one final.
Let's get
just to piss off Essendon.
We don't want that to happen, do we? Yes, we do. Essendon supporters are not going to be listening to this one anyway, so that's all right.
No.
Okay, so you're saying Gold Coast. Anyone else that you think is going to be going to jump up?
I mean, I think Carlton as well probably would be pushing for the 8. They had some of their issues, though I think they're not going to have Cripps for most of the year, so I think that's going to hurt them a bit. But I still see them somehow pushing their way in. They're just getting everything together. Having what is it, bloody Kerno and Mackay, just having those two.
When you got those, exactly right. When you got those two down forward, like it makes it massive for you as well. Yeah.
And the raps that they're giving on Jesse Motlop as well, having him as a small forward with those two.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. So I think that they're going to be in a really good spot. I love everything that Sam Day brings. You know, Alex Davies is going to get another year as well too. Charlie Constable's going up there. Had a bit of a taller year. Sam Collins. They've just got names now that really want to be there. Chris Burgess, Jai Ferrara. Like they've just got so many positives. And then they get this Elijah Hollands in, which is amazing. So they're going to be in a really good spot in terms of Gold Coast. I know we forgot about them. And then obviously from a Carlton perspective, Cripps is going to be hard to replace, but that just shows the depth. They've got stars on every line, so they're a massive chance. They did blow it with a month to go. Like they were in, and they fell apart in 2 weeks. So hopefully it doesn't happen this year. Matty, who unfortunately, if those two are going up, there's a couple going down. Who do you think is going to be sliding into 2023?
All right. I've only got one team I'm going to focus on. It's the team in my backyard up here. I reckon Brisbane Lions could really find this season really difficult. Look, I don't know the injuries, but I don't believe they've got a real fit, healthy squad even starting at around 1 from my memory. So I don't know if you can actually have a look at that and see, but I'm doing my research and I'm struggling to kind of get to that.
That's all right. You keep talking and we'll start typing.
So thank you. I have the fixture in front of me and I'm seeing, look, I do believe Port will win against them at Adelaide over round 1. Look, it could be, I don't even see, of course it'll be like a close game, and I just hopefully believe we'll get over the line. It's not a guarantee anyway, so assuming that they even lose that one and the next week they're back at home and everything, they're taking on Melbourne Demons. It's going to be, and then they got the Doggies. They've got Collingwood again at the Gabba. They've got 4 tough games before they meet a potentially pretty pissed off North Melbourne that might see an opportunity for them. And that's funny enough at the Adelaide Hills. So it's a really interesting game, a real neutral ground in South Australia. So not comfortable for Brisbane. So 0-4 going into that game with North Melbourne saying, here's an opportunity. Who knows? So, and then Giants, at Monica, it's just with how I'm feeling about the way they finished the season, and just there's just doesn't feel like there's 100% belief. I see it in the news here anyway. It's just there's a lot of talking up, of course, but it's even talking up about the youth more, and I just there's a real question mark on some of where some of their players in their mid-range, as Zorko. Rich, some even if you look at what's that player that came over from Dunkley
or Gunster?
Dunkley
back. Yep. This is the first that anybody. I didn't mean to catch off, but this is the first one that's actually predicted Brisbane to slide. So nobody else, everyone else has gone the other way. But you're thinking that they might have. From a talent perspective, they've got it, but from an injuries perspective, they may not get there. They've got 7 injuries, I think, on their list.
There's 7, and of those injuries, they're mostly a month max, and there's only from what I can see, there's only 3 of them that I actually know the names of.
Yeah,
Ben Zorko, Berry, and Gardner. The other ones I've never really heard of before, so and one's got tonsillitis.
They're a side that don't mediocre. They're either really super hot and contesting in the top finals, or they're falling off the perch completely.
Okay.
So I see for them it's going to be high pressure. It's going to be really tough. And look, falling off doesn't mean disastrous and win 2 or 3 games. They're finished 6. I see them kind of finishing 9 and 10, and if they even make the 8 and struggle and just get in, yet they finish 6 and we're hoping to get better. You'd even say that, okay, finishing 8th and just making the finals, I don't know. That would
that'd be a loss for them. If they are gunning for top 2, full stop.
Yeah.
They've gone all eggs in. They've gone all eggs in. So you're slipping them. Now, are they going to slip out of the 8, or are they just going to be in the bottom part of the 8?
Yeah, I think it could be disastrous for them. I think there's some really good sides that are really stronger this year. Every side gets better, and there's some players in teams that get stronger. There's some question marks. That number 1 draft pick. Who was it?
Rayner?
Yeah, he needs. He wouldn't be really proud of his career completely. Just like he'd like the Brownlow opportunity like Wines. It's his turn. He needs to have a good year. He'd want to be real delivering. So
yeah, he's not hard, Craig. I'll tell you what.
I was
piece of stick and metal, doesn't he?
I was going to say I don't necessarily rate Hipwood.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
I don't rate Hipwood.
I saw him play last year, and he goes all right, but he needs to. He's not the number 1.
He's looked after.
He needs to have a foil. He needs a foil, and that's my issue with him.
He's too bloody skinny.
Yeah. Hey, as long as he's cut that hair, that's all I ask for. Anyone else that you can see sliding down at all, Matty? Anywhere on the ladder?
Look, there is actually almost the storyline is who is going to, because you've got maybe the Dogs or Richmond, but I don't actually think they'll slide. I think sliding would be them staying where they are. So I don't think them improving, but I can't see Richmond. I think Western Bulldogs will be maybe finishing 7th and 8th again next year. So
interesting.
That's probably the storyline. But on the other flip side, Fremantle, Collingwood, Sydney, Melbourne, and Geelong. Good luck to the rest of the teams. Hopefully Port Adelaide can be, punch for punch alongside some of those teams, but they're all really impressive.
And there's no reason why you can't. All right. So who takes out the flag? Who takes out the flag? And remember, you can't say Port again, but we know what happened last year when you said Port have got this. We're a lock in. Craig remembers that conversation where you went helter skelter and we're sitting there going, are you serious? And then after the first 5 weeks, I don't think you wanted to play the season preview back again. So,
but
giving you an opportunity to redeem yourself, but go with whoever you want.
But did anyone other than the geriatric supporters actually pick the geriatric Cats to win?
Nah. Oh, I think there might have been one. I think there was 1 or 2, and they fluked it.
Am I allowed to do a heart says then head says? Is that allowed?
Oh, you can do a heart and head. I'll be honest though, with Geelong, I was saying that if there were night games. They were playing past their bedtime, like all these sort of things. Didn't they stick it up all of us on the last week of September? All right, who takes it out, Matty?
Okay, I'm going to go. I think Sydney Swans.
And you can pick a couple teams. So you're going Sydney?
Sydney Swans would potentially win the premiership, and maybe even Melbourne Demons again. Yep.
Okay. That's all right.
My heart says Port Adelaide, and I think Port will be actually legitimately like losing prelims to Melbourne or Sydney, and Port could be winning prelims to those teams by a goal or 2, depending on the way.
As long as you don't play at Port, as long as you don't play at the Adelaide Oval, you're a massive chance. Hey, what about you, Craig? Who are you picking to take it out to?
Well, obviously, Hart's always going to say Port Adelaide. I think as long as we get everything right, we'll get there. But if it's not Port, I have a feeling, and I hate to say this, Richmond.
Wow.
I've picked them to make finals.
Just with the talent they've brought in, and just some of the talent they still have.
Even if they brought in a couple of but they have injury concerns, Richmond.
Yeah.
They have a lot of injury concerns, and they've got all their fault. They're Cochin, Riewoldt, Lynch to a degree, Dusty, all getting older.
No.
So I think that there's
we said that last year
to make finals.
But we said that last year about Geelong.
Last year. Could you imagine if they win it? Peps didn't even make it to the finals.
But they said the same thing about Geelong with all their aging players.
True, exactly right.
So I just have this. I have this sinking feeling it's going to be Richmond. Personally, I don't see Sydney doing it. I think they'll struggle to make the 8.
Interesting.
That's well. Name me a team that's actually won a final after getting smashed in the grand final in the last.
There hasn't been many. I think it was West Coast were the last one to do it, or it was Sydney. But we're going many, many moons ago, so it hasn't been. It hasn't been.
So first 5 rounds for Richmond.
Yep.
They play Carlton at home, Adelaide away, Collingwood at the MCG. We got the MCG for Western Bulldogs. It's a home kind of advantage with their home game, and then Sydney at the Adelaide Oval on that 14th of April.
They can be 2 and 3.
Yeah, I reckon they've got an okay draw. Looking throughout, I still feel like they're
There's just something about them. It's just something about Richmond.
Yeah, and then you can't get rid of them.
And their supporters are really humble too. You know, they're not.
Of course,
Hey, gents, before we wrap up, the Portress podcast.
Yes.
What number season is it for you this year?
We're coming to around probably year number 6, 7, I think. When
Awesome.
I think 2018, 2017, I think I started doing it. I started in 2015, so was when I first was involved.
So your 9th season.
So yeah, 20. But the Portress itself kicked off in 27. No, the Portress podcast with the radio, our stuff, that kicked off 16, because I was in Adelaide. I moved in, so 2016.
8th year. Most podcasts don't get past 8 episodes. You're going into your 8th year. No, that's a fact. That's actually a fact. Awesome stuff. When do you go live? When do you start? Have you started for this season yet?
We will probably start now officially, probably kicking off next week. So I was going to do something tonight. I might do something throughout the week and promote and get some stuff to build up to next Wednesday. Look, we've got our team. We have 2 of our other people, Nicholas and Anthony. Anthony is here and there, and he's kind of basically a roaming reporter. We see him here and there, and he's got a whole lot of other things and projects. And we always knew that he was never going to be here forever with us, and so we don't have him each week. But if he's free and he jumps on, he's welcome, and we may get him in the last 10 minutes of a show, or we may get him 10 minutes into a show.
That's love. As long as he brings snacks for everybody, that's the main thing.
And Nick's in the other same situation where, on the other hand, he's with work. We may not see him much at all, but he's also one of those guys that will be. He chats in and he online with us a lot of our stuff, and he's heavily involved as well. And Nick's. So the 4 of us, but the 2 of us, Craig and I, will generally be each Wednesday night. So Wednesday 8 p.m.
nights,
Adelaide SA time 8 p.m. So 8:30 New South Wales, Victoria Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday kicking off next week. So we're doing something live. I might be doing also. I'm pretty keen on some kind of a YouTube thing. So look for our Portress podcast.
Okay. OnlyFans? What about OnlyFans, Matt? You in that?
No one wants to see that.
They do. They want to see the Portress podcast on OnlyFans.
No, we generally
Patreon.
We generally just do Facebook and with Facebook Live with
the Facebook
Craig stuff. Yeah, Craig does Facebook Live at the game, and
we know.
And then from pretty much where he's sitting right now on the away games. And then obviously, look, we don't really do much Twitter and Instagram and all the other stuff really. The other thing I've done is simply the Spreaker.com was where we do our live show each Wednesday night. So awesome. We might be doing a bit more YouTube this year and doing some other things. Okay. And obviously, because I'm going to be over there too, I'll be doing some more interviews and.
Well, hello.
So look out!
Flesh. Craig is
getting over to Adelaide.
He's frothing at the mouth. See you
down to Alberton. Got the microphone out, do some interviews, it'd be good. So boys, look out on all these social media stuff.
Boys, you've been awesome. Like I said, this is the 3rd year that we've done this, and
you're a legend, Chris.
Joining us most nights as well too, and it's just a cracker to talk to you blokes. Like it's always, I can tell you, it is always the longest episode because we know Matty's joining us. Because Matty
I love it.
Hates to say something.
I love my footy club.
You get Craig, who is he goes quality, not quantity. So we go with that further. The fedora.
Craig goes hard.
Get the fedora. And but no, you guys are awesome, and we really appreciate your support that you've given Lace Out over the years as well too.
Thank you. Now we love you, boys.
For the first time, and hopefully not the last time for 2023, Craig the Fedora Jones, Matt the Love Machine Sullivan from the Portress podcast. How do you want your footy?
Lace out.
Lace out.
Beautiful. That's your 2023 season preview. I've got you guys 8th or 9th. I haven't worked you out yet. I'm still trying to figure it out. So, but I reckon you are a massive chance to get back into finals action. And you know what? It's either you or Adelaide, and I probably prefer you guys. Have a great week, listeners. Take care.
Creatures can stay in this swamp.
Thanks, mate. We'll be supporting the show, promoting the show. We love it. Thanks. Listen to Lace Out, everyone.
Just get Lace Out.
All right.
See you, boys. Podcast, Lace Out.
See you, mate.
Thanks for listening to our latest episode. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on iTunes. I'm your host, Chris Pepper, and with Jamie Wallis, we give you your footy how you want it. Peace out.